The fulfillment of the prophecy came sooner than even Dr. Phillips had anticipated. As they were all sitting at dinner that evening, Madame Lamont, her eyes overbrimming with tears, rushed unceremoniously into the salle à manger, calling to Margaret, "Madame, Madame, please come up to your room at once. The dear baby is worse." Margaret threw one agonized glance at Dr. Phillips and rushed from the room, followed by himself and Eleanor Layton. The high staircase seemed interminable. More than once Margaret's legs failed under her, and she thought she would never reach the top, but she did so all too soon. On the bed was laid the infant form, limp and lifeless, and Martin, the nurse, met them at the door, bathed in tears. "Oh, Madame," she cried, "it happened all of a minute. She was lying on my lap, pretty dear, just as usual, when she went off in a convulsion and died." "Died? Died?" echoed Margaret in a bewildered voice. "Dr. Phillips, who is it that has died?" "The baby, Madame, the dear baby. She went off like a lamb without a struggle. Oh, dear mistress, do try to bear it." "Is my baby dead?" said Margaret in the same dazed voice, turning to the doctor, who had already satisfied himself that the tiny heart and pulse had ceased to beat. "No, my dear child, she is not dead. She is living, with God. Try to think of her as quite happy and free from this world's ill." "Oh, but I wanted her so! I wanted her!" exclaimed the bereaved mother, as she clasped the senseless form in her arms. "Oh, baby, baby, why did you go, before you had seen your father?" And then she slid, rather sunk, from the bedside in a tumbled heap upon the floor. "It is better so. It will help her through it," said Dr. Phillips, as he directed the nurse to carry the dead child into Eleanor Layton's room, and place Margaret on her own bed. "You will not object, Miss Layton, I am sure, and you must not leave Mrs. Pullen tonight." "Of course I shall not," replied Eleanor. "I have been afraid for days past this would happen, but poor Margaret would not take any hints." She spoke sympathetically, but there were no tears in her eyes, and she did not caress nor attempt to console her friend. She did all that was required of her, but there was no spontaneous suggestion on her part with regard either to the mother or the dead child, and as Dr. Phillips noted her coolness, he did not wonder so much at Ralph's being attracted by the fervour and warmth of Harriet Brant. As soon as poor Margaret had revived and had her cry out, he administered a sleeping draught to her, and leaving her in charge of Eleanor Layton, he went downstairs again to consult Captain Pullen as to what would be the best thing for them to do. Ralph was very much shocked to hear of the baby's sudden death, and eager to do all in his power for his brother's wife. There was no Protestant cemetery in Heist, and Dr. Phillips proposed that they should at once order a little shell and convey the child's body either to Ostend or England, as Margaret might desire, for burial. The sooner she left the place where she had lost her child, he said, the better, and his idea was that she would wish the body be taken to Devonshire and buried in the quiet country churchyard, where her husband's father and mother were laid to rest. He left Ralph to telegraph to his brother in India, and to anyone the news might concern in England, also to settle all hotel claims, and give notice to the Lamonts that they would leave on the morrow. "But supposing Margaret should object?" suggested Ralph. She will not object," replied the doctor. "She might if she were not taking the child's body with us, but, as it is, she will be grateful to be thought and acted for. She is a true woman. God bless her! I only wish she had not seen fit to bring this heavy trial upon her head." Not a word was exchanged between the two men about Harriet Brant. Ralph, remembering the hint the doctor had thrown out respecting her being the ultimate cause of the baby's illness, did not like to bring up her name again, felt rather guilty with respect to it, indeed, and Dr. Phillips was only too glad to see the young man bestirring himself to be useful, and losing sight of his own worry in the trouble of his sister-in-law. Of course, he could not have refused, or even demurred, at accompanying his party to England on so mournful an errand, and to do him justice, he did not wish it to be otherwise. Brussels and its anticipated pleasures had been driven clean out of his head by the little tragedy that occurred in Heist, and his attitude towards Margaret when they met again was so quietly affectionate and brotherly that he was of infinite comfort to her. She quite acquiesced in Dr. Phillips' decision that her child should be buried with her father's family, and the mournful group, with a little coffin in their midst, set out without delay for Devonshire. End of Chapter 8.